I am so excited about Wolverine coming to the MCU that I decided to put together another edition of 5 Under 5, where we look at 5 keys under $5 so that if you love this character as much as I do, you can find a cool, affordable key to add to your collection. And so we are going to get started off with Wolverine number 75. Now, this comic has actually a lot of personal significance to me because it is the first ever Wolverine comic that I bought, and it's the comic where I ended up falling in love with this character. And this comic is part of a storyline called Fatal Attractions that crossed over all the X-Men titles. And what happened in X-Men 25 was that Magneto ripped all of the adamantium out of Wolverine, and this basically burned out his healing factor, and so he went into critical condition. And so Wolverine 75 opens with him in the Blackbird in critical condition with the X-Men trying to save his life. And he's right on the verge of death, and just as he's about to die, the plane starts going down and Jean Grey gets ready to fall out, and because of his connection with her, it basically shocks him back to life, and he reaches out and grabs her, and then he's alert and safe from dying, at least, though he's still feeling pretty terrible. And in the second half of the book, flash forwards 2 weeks later, and he's in the X-Men's mansion, and he gets out of bed and he tells the X-Men, hey, I need to prove that I still belong on this team. I don't want to just be a charity case that you've got me here out of pity, but I want to prove that I belong here. And they're like, no, it's only been 2 weeks. You take time to recover. You'll be able to prove yourself again at some point. And he's like, no, I need to prove that I belong or I'm out of here. And that toughness that he had is what really drew me to love this character. And so then he says, well, I'm going to go in the danger room and test myself. And so he goes in there and he has a lot of cold feet. He's still got a lot of trauma from Magneto ripping out his adamantium. And so he's kind of losing, and all the X-Men are telling Professor X to, hey, stop the danger room scenario. And he's like, no, Logan's got to prove this to himself. And so he finally works up courage and he's starting to fight, and then he's sitting there ready to make a stand. And then all of a sudden he pops out bone claws. And this is a shock to everyone, to the X-Men, to Wolverine, and to the reader. Because up until that point, everyone thought that those claws were implants that were given to him when his adamantium was fused into his skeleton. And now we all realize, oh shoot, this is actually something that he was born with. And so this issue is a key because it's the first one where we find out that he actually has bone claws that he was born with. And the book ends with him leaving the X-Men to kind of go explore his origins just a little bit more. And so an awesome book, and one again that made me a big fan of his. Until that time, I was young, and so he'd been a little too gritty for me, but his toughness just to face his fears and to prove himself, I was like, man, this dude is awesome. And so I'm a Wolverine fan now. All right, number 2, I'm going to highlight Wolverine number 50. And this book is cool for a couple of reasons. Number 1, it has the epitome of a 90s gimmick cover, whereas this double cover and the outer cover is die cut, and so there's pieces missing where it looks like Wolverine has slashed through it. And I am always a sucker for covers where it looks like the characters on the cover have interacted with it in some way. And so I think it's just a super cool cover. And in addition to its cool cover, it's also the first appearance of Shiva, which is a robot that hunts down people that were involved in the Weapon X program. And in terms of speculation, I am a big believer that Wolverine, of course, has a huge future in the MCU, and that at some point we're going to explore the Weapon X program, whether it's in a movie like we saw with the Fox Wolverine Origins, or whether it's in a TV show, I don't know. But I am certain that Weapon X, whether it's 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know, but sometime we're going to have stuff with Weapon X. And so now can be a good time to find affordable Weapon X keys where if these characters end up showing up in some way, the books can go from $5 books to $20 or $30 books. And so if you think that is the case, then this might be a book that you want to pick up out of speculation that maybe Shiva pops up and starts hunting down some of the Weapon X characters in some TV show or movie or whatever. All right, well, speaking of the Weapon X project, book number 3 is going to be Marvel Comics Presents number 73. And this is part of the first Weapon X origin and storyline that ran from Marvel Comics Presents 72 to issue number 84. And really, all of those books are really cool ones to add to your collection. And other than number 72 and 79, all of them can probably be found for under $5. And even those, you might come across from them $5 or cheaper. In fact, last year at a flea market, I got issue 79 for 50 cents. But they're a little harder to find for under $5 because of their classic covers. But really, all of the issues in this run have these awesome Barry Windsor Smith covers. Talk about the origin of Wolverine and the Weapon X program. So I think they're all worth collecting if you're a Wolverine fan. But I specifically wanted to highlight this one because out of the ones that can be found for $5 and under, this has a couple of key points. First of all, it's the beginning of the storytelling where Wolverine had the adamantium fused into his skin. But also in terms of speculation value, it's the first appearance of Dr. Abraham Cornelius, who's one of the head scientists of the Weapon X project. And he's actually already been in a film. He was in the Fox Wolverine Origins. And so I think if the Weapon X project ever does show up in the MCU, this character is a shoo-in. Once again, he's already been in a film, and so I believe in him even more than I do in the Shiva character from Wolverine number 50. All right, well, the fourth key I'm going to highlight is Wolverine, the Origin number 3. And this is the book where we find out the origin of the name Logan. Now, until this miniseries, Logan was the only name that we knew that was associated with Wolverine. And we didn't know if it was a first name or a last name or what it was. Well, you actually find out at the beginning of this miniseries that his birth name was James Howlett. But then you found out here in issue number 3 that his biological father was actually the groundskeeper of the mansion that he lived in, named Thomas Logan. And what happens is that Thomas Logan ends up killing the man he thought he was his father, John Howlett. And in a rage, Wolverine pops his claws, his bone claws that he had forgotten about until Wolverine number 75, because the Weapon X project had brainwashed him and he lost a lot of the memories. But we find out here he'd actually popped his claws and killed Thomas Logan. And so then he kind of runs away, and then he ends up taking on that Logan name. But then that dastardly Weapon X project happens where, again, he forgets about having the claws, and he forgets himself how he got the Logan name. But we find out in this issue. All right, finally, with number 5, I'm going to highlight Wolverine number 6. And this is the first book where we see any Todd McFarlane artwork on Wolverine. And of course, Todd McFarlane is super popular, and Wolverine is super popular. So if you're a fan of either of those, then this is a must-have book for your collection, especially if you're like me, who is certainly a fan of both of them. And the artwork that's done by McFarlane is pretty interesting here. So the first maybe 8 issues of this series had a pinup on the back cover, and there's a different artist that did each one. Well, McFarlane did the one here on issue number 6. So there you have it. 5 keys for under $5. Tell me in the comments below which one of these issues you think is the coolest, or what is another affordable Wolverine key that we all can look to add to our collection. Hope you enjoyed the video. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you consider doing so. Like the video, share, all those things that help our channel grow. Thanks again, guys, and look forward to the next one.